Internet Explorer security configuration. Wouldn't it be nice if every single website you ever go to is 100% secure and you know that your credit card information will always be protected? Yeah, right. Well, until we reach that nirvana, we can configure Internet Explorer security settings to help guard against actions that we don't allow. And that's the focus of this video. Let's bring up a whiteboard and talk about that. Windows XP includes Internet Explorer version 6, which includes some new security management features. We're going to see how we can use these features to manage our cookies and how we can compare websites' privacy preferences to allow us to manage our cookies. We're also going to see how we can use security zones to control how scripts and ActiveX controls and Java applets are downloaded to our computers. And if you want to ensure that purchases that you make online are secure, then we're going to connect to websites using certificates over a secure sockets layer. So without any further ado, let's kick this off and see how we can manage our cookies in Windows XP. First off though, what is a cookie? Let's take a look at that next. So let's bring up another whiteboard, talk about cookies for a moment here. A cookie is a little file that websites that you visit place on your computer. And this cookie may contain information that you've entered at that website. For example, it could have profile information about airlines that you went to. Maybe you prefer aisle seats and your frequent flyer points and what type of meals do you want on that airplane, if you even get a meal these days. And it could also contain personal information that you've entered at the website, such as your email address, your home address, telephone numbers, that type of thing. However, there are several types of cookies we might encounter. There's a first-party cookie which will come directly from the website that you're currently looking at. So for example, if you're at www.yahoo.com and if you fill out any information about your personal preferences at that website, user profile, something like that, that would be a first-party cookie from yahoo.com. In contrast, a third-party cookie originates from a website that we're not currently looking at. For example, if we're at yahoo.com and there's a banner ad at yahoo.com, the advertising company of that banner ad might place a third-party cookie on our computer that points back to the advertising company's website or some other location. And these third-party cookies could be used to track our usage for advertising purposes. They can see at which websites we've been to see their ads. Also, the cookies might be persistent or session cookies. Persistent means that they're always located on your hard drive even after you shut down Internet Explorer. In contrast, session cookies will be deleted after you close down Internet Explorer and are just used during your web browsing session. We can configure Internet Explorer as to whether or not it's going to accept first-party or third-party cookies or a combination of them by using privacy policy settings and custom settings. And to make the process a little easier as to which setting we should choose, a new open standard called the Platform for Privacy Preferences, or P3P for short, has been developed to allow websites to specify what type of information they're going to collect about you. And then Internet Explorer can compare its privacy policy settings with a website's P3P settings to determine whether or not cookies will be stored on the computer. So let's close out of here and open up our Internet Explorer web browser and see how all this works. Just going to click on Start, choose Internet Explorer, fire up our website. So in this example, let's say we use yahoo.com for our news and information, and we want to find out what the privacy policy of yahoo.com is to help us determine what type of cookies we're going to allow or not allow from yahoo.com. So let's kick this off by going to Yahoo. So Yahoo could place some first-party cookies on our machine that store our personal information from my Yahoo, and we want to find out what type of information they're going to track, how they're going to track that, and we could do that by going up to the menu bar and choose View, then choose Privacy Report, then click on yahoo.com, and then click on Summary. This dialog box displays Yahoo's privacy policy, which tells us what kind of information Yahoo is going to collect about us, to whom Yahoo is going to give this information, and how this information is going to be used. And Yahoo's privacy policy is in the form of the Platform for Privacy Preferences, or P3P. Prior to this new P3P standard, most websites would display their privacy policy in long text files with lots of legal information that was very hard to make out as to what information they're collecting about you. Well, this new standard allows websites to simply fill out a multiple choice form about all the information that they're going to collect. And the benefit of this form is that this information will get embedded into the company's website in a format that Internet Explorer can read. And Internet Explorer can then compare this information about the website's privacy policy with Internet Explorer's privacy policy settings toward cookies and determine whether or not it will allow cookies to be saved on the computer. So if you notice below, the default is to compare the settings within the privacy policy to the Internet Explorer settings, or we can always allow cookies, or we can choose to block cookies. Let's close out of here now and take a look at the Internet Explorer settings. From here we're going to the menu bar and choosing Tools, Internet Options. Then on the General tab we have the option of Delete Cookies. This is a handy option if you just want to start from scratch. When you change your cookie privacy setting, the cookies that are currently on your computer might still be used even after you change your privacy settings. So it might be a good idea just to delete all of your cookies, choose the privacy setting you want, and then just start with a clean slate. So having said that, let's delete all the cookies that are on this machine right now. Say okie dokie. Get rid of all those. They're gone. Now let's go up to the top here and click on the Privacy tab. This is a new tab for Internet Explorer 6. It allows us to move a slider to choose between 6 different cookie policy configurations. The default level is medium. Let's take a look at all these levels going from top to bottom. So let's just slide this all the way up to the top. This option will prevent cookies from any websites from being stored on your computer, and this option also will prevent cookies that are on your computer already from being used. You don't want to choose block all cookies because that'll prevent you from going to most websites. For example, you won't be able to log on to Yahoo or Hotmail. Most websites use cookies in some form or fashion, so this is at an extreme. So let's take a look at our next level here, which is high. This option right here means that all cookies will be blocked if the website doesn't have a P3P policy that we talked about. And if it does have the policy, the company will still block cookies that use your personal information if you haven't said yes to providing that information. And the next option is kind of a cross between the two that we've talked about, medium high. This policy will block third-party cookies that come from websites that don't have a P3P policy. And if it does have that policy, it's still going to block third-party cookies that try to store personal information without prompting you to accept those cookies. And lastly, it's going to block first-party cookies that store personal information without your implicit consent, meaning that if you're signing up for a service and you enter in personal information, you might have to click on a submit button to agree to their privacy policy statement. With this policy, I could create a personal Yahoo account and log on to Yahoo with the account that I created. But each time I want to log on, I would have to enter my username and password every single time, even though I told Yahoo to log me on automatically. In contrast, when I set the privacy policy to medium, Yahoo automatically logged me on with my credentials using my first-party cookie. Medium will also block third-party cookies that come from sites that don't have a P3P policy. It's going to block third-party cookies that store personal information that don't have your implicit consent to use those. And then lastly, the medium is going to restrict first-party cookies that store personal information without your implicit consent, meaning that unless they have your consent to use those cookies will be removed from your system when you close out of Internet Explorer. And that's the difference between medium and medium high. If we go back to medium high, it says we're going to block first-party cookies unless we have your consent, whereas medium is saying we're just going to restrict those cookies to your session usage unless we have your implicit consent. Our next option is low. This policy is just restricting third-party cookies, and it's not restricting or blocking first-party cookies. And lastly, we have open up the floodgates policy. Accept everything and anything that you want. The best policy, though, it might be to create your own custom policy using the advanced features down below. Let's take a look at this option right here. To create a custom cookie policy, we choose this option, Override Automatic Cookie Handling, which means it's going to override the privacy policies that we just took a look at. And now that we've overridden those policies, we have to determine how are we going to deal with first and third party cookies. Are we going to accept them, block them, or be prompted to accept them? To access most websites, it's probably easier just to accept first party cookies, but if you want to block the third party cookies coming from advertisers automatically, you just choose this option. And then additionally allow session cookies, so we'll choose that option, click on OK, and we've created our own custom cookie policy setting. If somebody has already created cookie policies, we can import those by clicking on this button. Or if we're tired of our custom policy, we can revert back to default just by clicking on the default button. Also, the websites option allows us to override cookie policies for the privacy settings that we had selected above here. Really, it's just an exceptions to the rules list. So for example, if we had selected our privacy setting of high, we're going to end up blocking a lot of cookies, and even cookies from sites that we want to visit. So we can create an exception to this policy by clicking on Edit. Then we type in the website address of the website that we want to allow cookies from, and then we click on the Allow button. So whenever we visit Yahoo, we'll accept cookies from that website. So let's close out of here now. We'll click on OK. In addition to determining how cookies are downloaded to our computer, we can also control how scripts and ActiveX controls are downloaded to our computer from the Security tab. Let's take a look at that now by clicking on that. One of the cool things about the internet is that there's so much free stuff out there that you can download to your computer, but that's also one of the bad things about the internet. The stuff that you download could end up harming your computer as well. So to help protect your computer from downloads, what Internet Explorer has done is divided the networked world into 4 different zones: Internet, local intranet, trusted sites, and restricted sites. And within each of these zones there are different security levels which govern whether or not files will be downloaded and how scripts and ActiveX controls are downloaded. Most scripts and ActiveX controls are simply little programs that are embedded to your web pages to enhance your web page viewing. For example, if you go to a financial website, you might download an ActiveX control that displays a scrolling stock ticker at the bottom of your web page. So that's the cool part about downloading scripts and files and ActiveX controls. The bad part, though, is that these same programs may also cause harm to your computer. So we need to take some precautions about downloading files. And the precautions that Internet Explorer takes is that it'll download files or decide not to download files based on where they come from, or 4 different zones, and the security levels set within each zone. The sites found on Internet are the sites that are not located in local, trusted, and restricted sites. And the security level that's set for Internet can be seen by clicking on the Custom Level button. As a default, the security level for Internet is set to Medium. So let's take a look at some of these settings here. The first option is Download Signed ActiveX Controls. And with the security settings set to Medium, we will be prompted as to whether or not this control should be downloaded or not. Signed means that the software publisher has attached a digital certificate to the control, basically verifying the authenticity of the control. It's kind of like an electronic name badge, if you will. It's going to verify that who they say they are is actually who they say they are. And that helps you to verify that this ActiveX control hasn't been tampered with in any way. In contrast, the security setting for downloading unsigned ActiveX controls is set to disabled. If we don't have a digital certificate attached to this puppy here, we're not going to take any chances and we're not going to download this. So let's take a look at some of the other options here. So are we going to run ActiveX controls that were signed and that we've downloaded? That's enabled here. And are we going to allow files to be downloaded? That's enabled here. Let's take a look at our local intranet zone. So we'll click on OK, close out of here. We can tell which zone that we're in by looking in the bottom right hand corner of our web browser. If you notice right now it says Internet. If we were to look at websites within our local intranet, this icon here would change to reflect that. The sites within a local intranet would be all the sites found within your company's local network. So this would be any of the sites that you don't have to go through a NAT server or a proxy server to get to. The proxy server is a server that goes out to the internet on behalf of you to obtain your web pages. So for example, if we close out of here for a second, click on OK, and let's go to a website on our local intranet, and we should see the icon in the bottom right hand corner should change here in a second. We're going to go to DC Nuggets Printers, and this is within our local intranet, as you see here down in the bottom right hand corner. Let's go back and take a look at the rest of the options. We're going to Tools, Internet Options, click on Security. The security settings for the local intranet zone is set to medium low as a default. So because we're accessing computers within our network, it's assumed that these are safe computers, so we're going to enable more functions than disabling them. So let's click on OK. We can customize which sites are found within local intranet by clicking on the Sites button. All these options are selected as a default, include all local intranet sites not listed in other zones, include all sites that we can get to by bypassing the proxy server. So if there's any sites that we can get directly to and we don't have to go through the proxy server, they're located on the intranet, let's include those. And any sites that we can access using a UNC path, let's include those as well. The Advanced button allows us to add exceptions to the rules, similar to our privacy settings page. So let's click on that, take a look at that. So if the options on the previous dialog box didn't include some sites, you can manually add them right here just by typing in their address and then clicking on Add. We'll take a look at the Require Server Verification in our next option, which is Trusted Sites. And let's take a look at that right now. Close out of here. OK. The websites found within trusted websites are deemed to be safe websites or trusted, and that anything that we download from them should not harm our computer. And as a result, if we take a look at the security settings for this site, it's set to low. So we're going to be a little more flexible and a little more lenient in our security settings for these sites. Let's close out of here. As a default, there are no sites listed within the trusted site zone, so we'd have to manually add those by clicking on the Sites button. So let's say that Yahoo is one of my trusted sites here. So I'm going to type in Yahoo, click on Add, but I'm going to get a big old error right here because this option right here, Require Server Verification for all sites, has been enabled. This means that the website is going to try to communicate with Internet Explorer using a secure sockets layer, and to do that it's going to use a digital certificate, which is used to encrypt information and digitally sign information. For example, if you're purchasing something online, you might click on a link to take you to the checkout counter, and when you click on that link, that's going to take you to a website that has the HTTPS, which means you're now in a secure environment protected by 128-bit encryption secure sockets layer to protect your credit card information from the bad people on the internet. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to type in HTTPS, and we'll go to our internal website that I've set up with a secure sockets layer. That's DC Nuggets Printers. Click on Add, close out of here. What I did in the background is that I configured the website that we just went to in DC Nuggets to communicate securely using secure sockets layer. So when we close out of here now, we're going to have to use the letter S to try to get to this website. So right now we don't have the letter S, and if I press the Enter key, we're going to get a big old error saying you're trying to communicate with a website that's using SSL. You need to enter the letter S in the prefix here. So we'll do that right now. Put the letter S, press our Enter key. Saying you're about to view pages on a secure connection. Do you want to do so? Absolutely. We'll click on OK. And here we are. And if you notice now in the bottom right hand corner, we're in our trusted site. communicating with SSL at 128-bit encryption, and life is good. Now let's take a look at our last security zone, which is restricted sites. We're going to go back up to Tools, Internet Options, click on Security, and the restricted sites means that any websites that you place in here will have the high security level applied to them. So if we click on the custom level, we see that the default is set to high, and that means that basically everything has been disabled. Not going to allow you to download signed ActiveX controls. I'm not going to allow you to download any files as a default. So basically we're closing down everything here. So let's close out of here. So similar to trusted sites, there are no sites listed within restricted as a default. You would have to click on sites, add them in here, and you'd be good to go. So let's put all this information together here and try to download a signed file from the Internet Security Zone. So we're going to close out of here, and we're going to go to apple.com and try to download QuickTime. So we're about to leave a secure connection. Do you want to do this? Absolutely. Then when I click on the QuickTime link, we're going to get a little warning here. So right now we're looking at a signed file that we're trying to download from Apple Computer. And what's happening in the background is that Internet Explorer first looked to see which zone are we in, and for the zone that we're in, what security settings apply to that zone. And because we're in the Internet zone, it allows us to download signed files. So the next step that happens is this security warning that we see appears showing us who signed the file, Apple Computer, and then which certificate is used to verify the person who signed the file, and that's right here. To sign this QuickTime ActiveX plugin, Apple Computer purchased a certificate from this company here called VeriSign. And in order to purchase this certificate, Apple had to prove to VeriSign that Apple Computer really is Apple Computer. So VeriSign is vouching for Apple and is saying that Apple is who they say they are, and that this certificate has not been tampered with. Now that that's taken care of, we have to determine whether or not we trust Apple that what we're downloading from them isn't going to harm our computer, and that's what we have to decide right here. So if we click on yes, we'll proceed to download this plugin. So let's do that right now. And I'm going to pause the video while I was trying to actually download this plugin. So the plugin is installed and we're all up and running. So these certificates that are being used have to come from somewhere. And the companies that create these certificates are referred to as certificate authorities. And VeriSign is one such certificate authority. And Internet Explorer can verify this certificate because it has an extensive list of certificate authorities that are commonly used on the Internet. And we can see this list by going to the menu bar and choosing Tools, select Internet Options, click on the Content tab. From here, click on Certificates, and then from here we're going to select Trusted Root Certification Authorities. So if we scroll down toward the bottom here, we should see several entries for VeriSign, and indeed we do. So what we see before us is a list of certificates that Internet Explorer uses to verify the source of assigned files that we download. And if a file or a website uses a certificate from a certificate authority that is not on this list, then we're going to get a big old warning stating that the certificate is untrusted. It costs a lot of money to purchase certificates from these certificate authorities. So small companies that are just starting out might create their own certificates using their own certificate authority, and those certificate authorities won't be on this list, which means that Internet Explorer will generate an untrusted error when presented with one of those certificates. Also, local intranet sites may secure information using certificates generated by companies' own internal certificate authority, and this is also going to generate an untrusted warning from Internet Explorer. And let me show you an example of this. We're going to close out of here and close out of here. The DC Nuggets website that we took a look at earlier is a local intranet website which is using a certificate that I created with a Windows 2000 certificate authority, which Internet Explorer knows nothing about. So when we go to this website, we should get a warning saying their certificate is untrusted. So let's go to that website now. We'll go up to our address bar, find that location, Do you want to view pages over a secure connection? Absolutely. And here's the warning that I've been referring to. Because Internet Explorer does not have a copy of the certificate generated by our certificate authority, it's saying that the company that you're looking at here, you've chosen not to trust because they're not on your trusted list. And we can see this by clicking on View Certificate and then click on Certification Path. And if we click on Web, we see at the bottom here it's saying that this certificate authority is not trusted because you don't have it on your list. Basically, it's not in your store. So what we need to do is get a copy of this and place it in the list, so each time we go to our internal website we're not presented with this warning all the time. So let's close out of here and see how we do that. There are several ways to obtain a copy of the certificate. A group policy might automatically assign a certificate. You could manually request a certificate from an internal website, or an administrator might give you a copy of the certificate on a floppy disk, which we can then use to import into Internet Explorer. I've got a copy of the certificate on a floppy disk, so let's see how we can import that now by going to our menu bar and choosing Tools, select Internet Options, click on Content. From here click on Certificates. From here click on Trusted Root Certification Authorities, and from here click on Import. And that brings up a little import wizard. We'll just click on Next, and it's basically asking us where is the certificate. So we click on the Browse button, and it's on our floppy disk. Here it is right here. Click on Open, select Next. Where do you want to place it? Yes, we want to place it right here. Thank you. Click on Next, then click on Finish, and this is information about the certificate, and we say yes, we want this. And now that certificate has been added to our list. It's alphabetical, so if we go all the way down here toward the bottom, here it is. So now when we go to our internal DC Nuggets website, we should not get that error. So let's close out of here and put that to the test. Click on Close, click on OK. In order for this change to take effect, I have to restart the computer, so I'm going to pause the video right now to restart. Okay, I've just finished rebooting the computer and we're all set to go. See if our certificate we imported works. So let's fire up Internet Explorer, click on Start, choose Internet Explorer, go to our favorite DC Nuggets website, click on the drop down arrow, choose DC Nuggets. So we get the familiar warning, you're about to view information on a secure connection. Now when I click on this OK button, the other warning that we saw before about the untrusted site should not be here. So drum roll please, click on OK. Alright, Todd, you rock! How did you do it? All in a day's work, ladies and gentlemen. But seriously folks, because we've got that certificate imported into Internet Explorer settings now, we don't get that big old warning. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this video. Let's close out of here and do a quick recap of what we covered here and bring up my whiteboard. So we started off our journey here by seeing how we can compare the Internet Explorer privacy settings with that of a website's P3P settings, and viewing its privacy report to compare whether or not cookies will be downloaded from the site that we're viewing. And we also saw how we can use security zones to determine whether or not we're going to download files such as ActiveX controls that have a digital signature using certificates that Internet Explorer knows about. And we also saw the many ways to customize our privacy settings for cookie management, and customizing our security zones for file download management. And then we finished off by seeing how we can import a certificate so we no longer receive the untrusted certificate warning. And that brings us to the end, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this video has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.